This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
Hello again, everybody. I'm your host, Nick Shice, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Bad Movies We Love. Thank you so much for being with me, and if you've been listening to this show, please drop me a line on Instagram or Twitter at Bad Movies We Love, LUV, and let me know how I'm doing. But until then, I am joined today by a friend of the show and a friend of the Shice International Film Club. That is Vanya Garraway. She is the curator of Paid in Sweat at Revue Cinema in Toronto. So if you're in the area, make sure to stop by the theater and check out her program and say hello. Apologies in advance to any of my Australian friends that might listen to this, but today we're going bush as we tackle the 1986 feel-good classic starring Paul Hogan. You know it. We love it. It's Crocodile Dundee. Stops a purse snatcher with a can of soup.
It's adorable.
He's just wearing a towel and a cowboy hat.
It's for washing your backside, right?
Her butt cheeks are hanging out when that alligator is about to bite her.
I think I kind of wanted to be her as a kid.
Go look at that 6 foot tall, super muscular thing and think it's just a cute little baby.
You shoot kangaroos, now they can shoot you.
Look, we can't show him pick up this corpse off the ground.
It becomes more and more absurd. Like, watching it is different than explaining it.
All right, thank you so much for joining me and being a part of the continual growth of Bad Movies We Love. How are you doing today?
Fine, I'm great. How are you?
You know, as we talked, I had some bad news, but all things considered, I'm still doing well. I'm happy to be sitting down with you and talking about a movie that I didn't realize that I enjoyed so much. And a movie that I had watched a lot when I was younger, but it had been probably a long time. And that movie is Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, it's and it hasn't been that long. Like, I've watched it as an adult, but I've hearing back from other people who have watched it as adults, and how it kind of annoys them, or they say they don't like it. And I wonder if they've seen it recently. A couple people have said they've seen it recently, still don't like it. But I mean, I grew up with it. It was a family movie. It was something that we watched together, even though I think in many ways it's not a family movie. It's very grown up. So, but I watched a lot worse when I was younger.
Yeah, you make a good point because it is like a fairly adult story. I mean, it's a romance. It's basically a rom-com to a degree, but there's a lot of, adult themes about relationships and not just like romantic relationships, but interpersonal relationships. And that's sort of like the biggest line of contrast that exists in the film is here's this guy from the outback who lives a very simple life versus like high-paced New York professional woman, and how their two personalities interact with each other. And then once they each spend some time in each other's world, like how they interact with that world around them. So like it's not really geared towards kids, but it's not exceedingly violent or grotesque or profane or sexual. Like there's a lot more sexual innuendo than I remember initially.
But I mean, you wouldn't really know that as a kid.
Yeah.
It's the kind of innuendo that you can't really translate as a kid. You just know the things that you're seeing that are funny. and you don't realize it until you're an adult that you're like, oh, that's dirty. That's like a dirty joke.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly. It's like
so it's kind of magical that way.
safe for families, but not necessarily geared towards a younger audience.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what was it that made this the movie that you wanted to talk about for
I
this
think
show idea?
well, because I have, as you know, I think you know, I have a hard time saying things are bad. Movies are bad. Like they're so hard to make, and you know, obviously we both love them. But I just heard enough people say that this wasn't a good movie, and I thought, no, it is a good movie, but I can see how people might think it's bad. You know, either if they haven't revisited it or things that are offensive, outdated in it could upset them. So that's why I want to talk about it, because I really get it's every single time I watch it, I'm really surprised at how emotional I get with this movie, you know, and how connected I feel, you know, towards the characters, and how much I love it, and how much influence it actually had over me, even though a lot of people think it was like a real gimmick, you know, kind of film.
It does have some of that. Like I think it definitely relies on a little bit of the gimmick of, hey, here's this person that is probably unfamiliar to a general American audience interacting with like the most American city in New York in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of having those two things play against each other. And you know, we'll get into a little bit of that later, but what you said about not disliking movies, right? You and I think, connected on that because in a given year, just in seeing new films, I'm probably seeing 150 to 200 like movies from that calendar year. And realistically, there's like maybe 5 that I like legitimately don't like. But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, like there's a lot of good things to take away from a lot of movies, even if I don't think the movie's like a masterpiece on a whole. It's
Sure.
very difficult for me, like you said, to just tear it down, like throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm always looking for the good things that I can take from it. And when there's enough of those good things, or when those good things are good enough, I think those redeeming qualities for me prevent those from falling into like, I know these are bad movies. And this one, in
Mm-hmm.
even in rewatching it, I was thinking like, okay, I don't personally think it's a bad movie, but like you said, I could see why someone would watch it and sort of be like dismissive of it, which
Yes.
isn't even necessarily calling it a bad movie. It's almost like just flippantly categorizing it as
Writing it
something
off. Yeah.
that isn't good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to ask you, when was the last time you watched it? Because for me, it's been at least 10 to 15 years, if not longer.
Mm, I want to say I watched it 5 or 7 years ago.
And
I'm saying around
did
then.
you rewatch it for this show?
Yeah,
Well, good,
I
because we're
rewatched
gonna
it last night.
me too. We're gonna get into some of the details. And I had posted a picture on the Instagram for the podcast, and it's just the poster art. And I said I'm doing some homework,
Yeah,
and a friend of mine from like high school had messaged me on that story and said, I
yeah.
didn't realize until right now that he's spreading the buildings of New York City apart. And I was like, what? I didn't realize that either until you just said something to me.
Yeah.
Because I
I
knew he's in New York, but I was like, New York doesn't have any weird, like, circular buildings like that.
right. I've never paid attention to that either. I noticed something in the movie that I'd never noticed before in all the years I say last night. And I was kind of freaked out that I had never paid attention to it. And then how this thing plays out later in the film, like the next scene, how it plays out. I don't know if you want me to tell you later when we get into more details,
I mean, if
but
it's on if it's on the tip of your tongue right now, just yeah, we'll talk
there's a
about it.
moment in the film when he's in New York and he's been washing his clothes like in the bathtub,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a point where he's on the phone with his love interest, the lead, the female lead, and he has in his image is him on the phone and then he has his knife. He has a big knife, and it is holding up a clothesline that he's made. Like he has it in the wall of the hotel, like in the wall. He has the knife in the wall, and then a string is tied around it, and you see like socks and stuff hanging off it. And I was always so transfixed on what he was saying in the phone call that I've never paid attention to the fact that there's a knife in the wall, holding up this clothesline, which is so absurd. And then the very next scene is a big part in the movie where they're held up, and he says, that's not a knife, this is a knife, which is a very popular line from the movie. And that's the very next scene after seeing this knife in the wall, which I thought was like, that's actually really clever, because if you're paying attention to that knife and it carries over the next scene, that's kind of neat. But all this time, I'd never even really looked at that.
I didn't even notice that. Now I kind of want to go back and watch it again.
And it's actually clever.
Yeah, as I was watching it, I was thinking, I was like, did I see the sequel? I know I've seen the sequel.
Yeah.
I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it. And so this one has a lot of moments that I actually remember fairly well. Mm-hmm. And since you brought up the knife, Paul Hogan ended up keeping one of those knives, which is a nice little piece of trivia, because, I mean, this character is kind of him. I mean, it's his claim to fame. So I don't blame him for doing that. And it's a nice knife.
Yeah, right. And it made me realize how good the script is. When I recognize that, how there's all these little details. And I mean, we're probably going to talk about or I can talk about it now, but the script was nominated for an Oscar, which is...
Wow. Was it Best Original Screenplay?
Yes, I believe so.
Wow.
So it's written by him and I think two other people. And I think that's fascinating, because people write this movie off. And then, I was looking at it last night and I see that little clever thing. Like, it's pretty economic script. Like, there are all the little details. Like, I paid attention to that too when it's a fish out of water story, but there's two fish out of water parts. There's her in Australia and then him in New York, right? Everybody kind of pays attention to him as the fish out of water in New York, but really she's a fish out of water in Australia. And that's almost 45 minutes of the film, in an hour and a half film. It's like half the film is in Australia. So, because it actually is like, like you said, it's a rom-com, and it's each of their sides of the story.
Yeah, this movie is much more 2 halves than it is 3 acts.
Yeah, and it's pretty tight, actually.
It is. There's a point where it gets to like the pivotal part, like in the real story. And I'm like, there's 10 minutes left in this movie. Mm-hmm. And they're just starting the 3rd act right now. And then it's just like, all right, fast forward. And then we'll get to the end of it.
But it doesn't seem cheap. It's not like they're like, oh, we forgot all that. Like, we forgot, and now we're going to rush you through the end. It actually makes sense where it lands, makes sense to the story.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, you could make this movie 2 hours, but it's the 80s, everything's kind of like coming into a certain range. So I think the studio and the writers, they know that they're not trying to like drag this out for a long period of time. And that's probably why the sequel was made as well, because it was like, hey, there's some story here that didn't end up getting told in the first one, but we'll circle back to that. I want to watch the trailer for this movie, because I haven't seen the trailer for this. I don't know, maybe ever, because this came out in 1986, so I was 2. So there's a super high probability that I didn't watch the trailer at the time it came out. Before we get to that trailer, it's time for a quick word from our sponsor, Down Under Kangaroo Kombucha. When life is getting you down, it's time to go down under. Made with organic Australian sugar, yeast, and their special blend of tea, Kangaroo Kombucha is fermented the proper way, right inside a kangaroo's pouch to give it that authentic down under flavor. It's loaded with caffeine and healthy gut bacteria, plus it's fermented for 5 times as long as those other brands, so it's got higher alcohol content that really packs a kick. So whether you're in the bush looking to get your day started with your mates, or having a fancy date night with a Shayla, you'll be feeling both loose and alert. That's the one and only Down Under Kangaroo Kombucha.
This is fun. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Go back in time to 1986. That's interesting. It's Paramount, but it's streaming on HBO.
He was raised in the land down under, where
it's
a man
movie
thinks
trailer
on his
guy.
feet,
Yeah.
speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
Two beers, all right? One for me.
He decided to wear a bathing suit that is like got a thong bottom into the Australian outback.
I want to talk about that.
More treacherous than any he has ever known.
G'day. Big Dundee from Australia. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? Just came down for a couple of days. Probably see you around. Fine.
That's funny. He says he's going to see this guy around,
Yeah.
but then he sees these two girls around like 4 times after he meets them the first time.
Just have to give you one for free.
I think he thinks he does. Oh.
One what?
How are you finding New York?
Well, that's right. He thinks he sees them one
They're
time.
lunatics. That's why I love it, because I fit right in. G'day.
Hello.
Sorry. G'day. Look.
The soup can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great throw
It's excellent.
on a super crowded sidewalk too. Oh, there's the knife in the wall.
Look.
Yeah.
Stay a while. Wouldn't have anything to do with a certain lady writer, would it?
I mean, he's like,
Paramount Pictures
he's just wearing a
presents
towel and a cowboy hat at that point. So it's
Hot,
like, are
yeah.
you focusing on the knife in the wall?
Exactly. Right.
Where?
as Crocodile Dundee.
A little bit of.
Late, buddy? Yeah, sure. Yeah. And your wallet.
Got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
He like pulls a machete out of his back pocket.
Oh, I like that trailer.
Yeah, that was a good one. And it's interesting
It's-
that they show his name like Paul Hogan as Crocodile Dundee. Like, was he
Yeah.
a star before this movie?
In
got
Australia,
made? Okay.
not in the United States. In Australia, he was like a television star, I think.
That makes sense. Yeah, he was on a
Um,
TV show and then did, I think, one movie before this.
I think so. And but it's kind of a clever little trailer. That would make people want to go to watch that movie, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of like exactly what it says it is, and it's not pretentious about it. It's just,
No,
here you go. You're gonna see a crocodile. You're gonna see some outback. You're gonna see him dressed in a snakeskin jacket or whatever, walking around New York,
Yeah.
greeting New Yorkers who don't want to talk to him.
and he's like charming and sweet, but he's he's edgy, and then he's also like, it's like a little sexy, like just a little bit. That's a clever little trailer, and he's a hero, right?
He is, yeah.
Oh,
Stops a
kinda.
purse snatcher with a can of soup,
Kind
right?
of love that trailer, and I'm probably gonna watch it after this again, just to kind of, oh god, yeah, that really works.
Yeah, like going into it again, I was like, all right, I'm not sure why someone would say it's a bad movie. And after watching it, I still don't really know why, but we'll look in on some of the critics and see what they had to say about it a little bit
Okay.
later. But yeah, it's just like you said, it's really economical with its storytelling
Mhm.
and with its two lead characters, right? There's like a little bit of supporting here and there, but it's really like just seasoning on these two. Nobody
Right.
else is really there to draw too much attention away from them. And I think what I noticed most watching it last night is his charisma as this character is just, it's overwhelming. So it's like it's so easy to watch because
Mhm.
he comes across as just this guy that even when he's wrong, it's coming from this like harmless place. And it's coming from like an authentic place of he's just curious and he doesn't know what's going on in New York. And this is so outside of the box for him that it really, I think, allows like the mechanism of the script to work really well.
Yeah, because he doesn't do anything hateful. And even so, there are some things in it that are dated. But even the way Mick handles those situations, it's not meant to be hateful. It's just more about he just figured that thing out,
Exactly.
So it's not, he's never punching down, he's never being cruel, and there are people that are cruel to him.
Yeah.
But he's never cruel to anyone.
Absolutely. And he, for the most part, shows love and respect for, animals as well, other than, he's like wielding a crocodile head like very early in the
movie. Yeah, and he does kill a crocodile. But that also, I was thinking about how he kills a crocodile. There's a point in the film where she gets very upset because there are poachers trying to kill kangaroos. And she's very freaked out. But then she's almost killed by a crocodile. And he kills a crocodile. And I thought, yeah, that's a human thing. We really are concerned about the fluffy thing. We're not really concerned about the thing with teeth like that. And yes, it's a defense thing. He doesn't just, frivolously kill this crocodile, but she does ask, is it dead? She's freaking out because it really almost took her out. But I remember I was thinking last night, I'm like, yeah, she doesn't care about that crocodile. You know what I mean? And nobody cares but it's designed so that we don't really care either because she almost got killed.
Yeah, it's just him eliminating something dangerous.
Yeah,
it could have been anything like diffusing a bomb or like if the story took place entirely in New York, it's like we've seen, it's the Jennifer Lopez movie where she gets her like heel stuck in the grate. And then she gets tackled out of the way to save her, and like that's the meet cute. I think it's a McConaughey movie. It could be the one with Chris O'Donnell,
it's a bride something about
The Wedding Planner, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Wedding Planner.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like a traditional meet cute moment, except for they've already met at this point.
Sure.
And it gives a little bit of spice to a story that's like a little bit slow moving at that point. It's not an action adventure film.
It excels their relationship, like their closeness. That's what it does. That's the device. It just moves things along so that we're like, oh, now they can be close to each other, like they're physically close to each other, obviously, because he holds her, he hugs her to reassure her that she's safe. And that just excels everything about their closeness to one another.
Before we get too far away from it, though, her butt cheeks are hanging out when that alligator is about to bite her, and I know you wanted to circle back to that.
Well, I just want to talk about her in general because I realized that I think I kind of wanted to be her as a kid. It was her and Kathleen Turner in Romancing the Stone, which very much, they were parallel films.
Yeah.
She's a writer, she's a journalist, and Kathleen Turner was a romance novelist, you know what I mean? And then they live in New York, a place that I love, and just thought it was always exciting watching it in films. And I'm a writer, you know what I mean? I wanted to be, do that. And they dress really well. And I love every outfit that she wears in this film. The costume designer, she's done a couple other good movies. That is like practical. I always talk about this, and people, if they've listened to me speak about films before, they're probably like, yes, we know you like a practical costuming. Like I love like contemporary costuming. Like, yes, period, movies are great, where you're seeing like these opulent costumes, but I love like when the person is just in the city and they're just having to wear jeans and a t-shirt, and you have to figure out how to make that look interesting or make the character look interesting. Obviously she's very affluent, so there's a certain like designer quality to her clothing, and I think that's why she's wearing a thong bathing suit in the outback. But she's gorgeous, she's so sexy, And obviously he reacts to it, but not in a skeevy. He reacts to her sexiness, but I don't think in a skeevy way. He just
No,
kind
he
of
treats
sees,
her with respect.
yeah. And so he sees it and he hits his head because he's like, oh, distracted by her beauty or whatever, her butt cheeks.
Mhm.
But I mean, who wouldn't be? Like, it's incredible. Like, I'm sorry, but they're just there. And yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I just love the way she looks throughout the whole entire film. Like she's covered up. She's in some skimpy attire, but she's also covered up quite a bit. But the outfits are excellent.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's like I think part of it is, they want to show that like he has not seen that kind of bathing suit before. So it's like particularly revealing for him, but also they're still in his element. And it's like the one thing that catches him off guard while they're in the outback. He's very much aware of everything else to the point
mhm.
where he's like creeping through the trees without his shoes on and he's having no problem following her. But he caught a glimpse of that bathing suit and Mick got caught slipping and hit his head on that tree.
And I think that's why it's also acceptable because he's not just a voyeur, he's actually there, he's trying to protect her, he's making sure she's okay because he knows that it's Australian outback, it's really dangerous, she's a city girl woman, and he wants to make sure she's okay. So then all of a sudden he feels like a voyeur because she's stripped down. And yeah, it's shocking to him because it wasn't his intention.
Very much so. And
Mhm.
I don't know that I really remembered it at all, but the reason that she goes to Australia in the first place seemed a tad flimsy, but at the same time, they just need to like get the story there in
They
some
do it.
way.
It's
So
quick.
first scene is, oh my God, this guy survived a croc attack. Well, I'm taking the paper's money and we're going to Australia. So like none of that added up to me until later we find out that she's the daughter of the newspaper's owner. And I was like, no wonder she's got deep pockets and can gallivant around the world and write these kind of stories and not have to like answer to her editor about any of that.
Right. Because there's no establishing thing that she's like some Lois Lane. Like she's not this like
Mhm.
or Pulitzer, you know,
Yeah,
prize
exactly.
winner or something like that. That gives her the cachet to do that. But it's not, they don't leave that thread hanging. They clear it up. They give it, right. There's a point where she comes back and then we know that her father owns that paper. And yeah, we're like, oh, nepotism. She's a nepo baby.
Yes. And I mean, like, especially during the 80s, that character isn't even presented in a way that's even like moderately designed to be offensive. It's almost just like, oh, yeah, this is just kind of how it is. And
Mhm.
she's the best writer on the paper because she's the owner's daughter and she has a blank check to do whatever she wants. So if she wants to go to Australia to meet this guy, then you know what? She's going to Australia. And then when he wants to come back to New York, hey, he's going to stay in like a super fancy hotel room on the newspaper's dime.
Massive, like a huge suite. But also, which is kind of nice actually, because he comes from a like sprawling place, and he's in New York, a very, very tight space. He makes a comment that's actually quite funny, where he says, "If all those people live in New York, they must really like each other."
Oh,
Like,
yes.
I can't remember, like, she says how many people are
So
in New
there's
York in
7 million
1986.
people there. And he said, oh,
Yeah.
New York must be the friendliest place
This
around if all these people chose to live with each other.
It's adorable.
It
And
is.
so and especially if you know the reputation of New Yorkers, like the film does hinge on that, which is it's the perfect place because New York is so globally known, and is particularly in the 80s it had a specific reputation. And so, yeah, of being like grumpy people, right? A New York minute, they don't have time for you. And he comes from a place where he talks about the people that he was basically raised by not caring about time at all.
Mhm.
Time, time or space, at all. So it's interesting to be like where New Yorkers are like the exact opposite, where they pay attention to all of that. And so it is actually kind of nice of her to put him in a hotel that's like where he can like at least spread out.
Yeah, last time I was in New York, our hotel room was nowhere near that
No, no,
size.
no. It was
And it
a
was
corner of
expensive.
my
It was.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, before we get too far away from that
Sure.
scene, kind of where you were talking about the poachers and how our preference for the fuzzy thing, you know, outweighs our preference for the scaly thing.
Mhm.
So she wants him to intervene in these poachers killing kangaroos. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the kangaroo population in Australia is so overrun that there are actually like hunting legalities around that.
Mhm.
And I think it's okay to hunt kangaroos. This may have changed, but I heard it at one point. So I'm just going to say it and hope that it is still the case. I should probably have done more research, but I didn't plan on bringing this up at all.
Well, another thing about kangaroos, from what I know, and maybe I should have researched this too, is they're very dangerous to
Yes.
people. And so that's really funny because they're cute. People think they're not dangerous to us, but they're very dangerous to us. They People get hurt by kangaroos all the time. So it's interesting that it's like, oh no, but it's cute and has a pocket. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And now that the internet exists and we've been able to see videos of kangaroos like beating people up or snatching someone's dog or like getting into fistfights with people, I think it's, less likely that a New Yorker going to Australia would just be like, oh, look at that 6 foot tall, super muscular thing and think it's just a cute little baby. But
Right.
but sidebar,
I
going
do.
into that scene when he actually works to actively get the poachers away,
Mhm.
does he prop up a kangaroo corpse or was that a puppet kangaroo that he
I
just
think
happened to
he
have?
I think he takes one of their poached kangaroos, the corpse of a kangaroo, which is absurd, and uses it to make it look like a kangaroo is shooting at the poachers. Because that's hilarious. He uses the dead body to be like, it's coming back to you now. This is your karma. Now the kangaroo, you shoot kangaroos, now they can shoot you. Like, but actually, when you think about it, it's gross because he's using the dead body of a kangaroo, which is really upsetting.
It's very morbid and
Yeah.
it's just like all of a sudden the poachers are looking through the binoculars and they see the kangaroo and they say like, oh, that's a big one, and it's like, oh, he's got a gun. And so I was all of a sudden I just started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, I know it's Mick, but where did the kangaroo come from? And they're out there with a backpack, right? He doesn't have this just on hand. So this is definitely a dead kangaroo that he just propped against this tree and started shooting from behind it. Uh Very, very morbid humor, but at the same time, if you're not like thinking about it too much, it works. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's a dead kangaroo right there.
Like I didn't think I would like I felt like we would probably touch on this, but I didn't know that it would make me laugh so hard. Like when I was watching it last night, I was like, okay, I think we're gonna talk about this. But talking about it to you, like actually it's like a dream when when you have a dream and then you say like you tell the details of the dream
Mhm,
and you realize just you might have been even afraid of the dream and then when
mhm.
you start to say the words out loud it becomes more and more absurd. Like watching it is different than explaining it so that people
Absolutely.
understand what we're talking about in detail. It's so much funnier. It's so much funnier than even watching it. Oh
Writing
gosh.
that in the script, they had to say, okay, now like dummy kangaroo, right? Like, okay, Mick and the girl are hiding behind the trees. The poachers are coming out. They're driving. They're shooting after some kangaroos. Then Mick picks up a kangaroo corpse and leans it against the tree and starts firing from behind it. I can't imagine that it was written that way, but being that, this writing team put this together and like he was already famous for a certain style of humor, it's quite possible that they wrote it that way.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think that
in the making of it, they're like, look, we can't show him pick up this corpse off the ground and lean it against the tree. So we're just going to cut to the part where it's holding the gun and scaring off the poachers. And we'll just fast forward through the really dark parts of it.
oh man, I'm in tears. I'm in tears. Like saying it. I would love to see that script. Like I kind of want to now search the script to see if it's written that way. I would love to see if anything's on the cutting room floor also. That'd be funny. Yeah, so that happened in
It
the
did.
movie.
It did. And
He like
that's
Weekend at Bernie's
he did.
Have you done that movie? If you haven't, I want to do that with you.
I haven't done that movie. Nobody's even brought it up yet. So I
I
mean,
would do that with you.
all right, I'll put it on the schedule and we'll work something out. That
Then we'll circle back to this moment.
absolutely.
Mhm.
That scene too is kind of close to the time where they're sort of winding down their time in Australia, and
Yes.
they've met Mick, they've met like his eccentric friends, they've gone to his bar and seen, well, we as the audience have like seen him in his natural habitat. They've been out in the wild. What is her name in the story? Sue.
Mhm.
She has kind of like established that she is strong and independent, and she wants to go ahead and like take the gun and go on the journey herself and meet him where they're going to go. So they've gone through a lot of the steps of the foundational stuff between the characters and getting us ready to move to New York at that point.
Yes.
And even when it happens, I'm still a little surprised at the thinly veiled reasoning behind getting him to New York, because they do share a kiss by the waterfall
Yes.
before he's interrupted by his friend who's like, I don't know what he's doing, some sort of animal signal in the background because he's lost, even though he supposedly trained Mick.
Walter, yeah. Yeah, that's strange. But I feel like Mick knows more about the bush because of the indigenous people
Mm-hmm.
that he was basically raised by. And he says this man gets lost all the time. He's like, Walter is like akin to what's Marcus in Indiana Jones, and kind of like that
Yeah.
kind of goofy, kind of can get himself into trouble, kind of, we don't see him that much as him. I think it's Marcus, right? Anyway, he's kind of that kind of figure, but he's
Yeah.
also kind of his manager. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like, I guess you do. Ace Ventura also has a character like that, in like there's a
Mhm.
character that's bridging the gap between the two different sides. You need someone
Right.
to be there to do all the expository dialogue and just here, let's, make sure that
Yeah, let Mick be Mick, and
Mhm.
then any of the history of Mick really we're getting from him.
Yeah, absolutely. So she convinces him to go to New York, like this is a good idea, and it seems like at that point he's already fallen for her because he got the
Yes.
kiss and they spent all this time together and they developed this bond, and he thinks going to New York is a good idea. And as soon as she gets off the plane, she's right back to her man, who, they show us is just kind of like a smarmy prick, but
He's like, yeah, go on.
before we get to the point where the three of them like interact, he's
Mhm.
not really as bad. He works at the newspaper. She's dating someone that maybe is her editor or higher up the
Right.
food chain than her. So it's a relationship of convenience, and being the daughter of a media magnate, she's in kind of those elite social circles where you're expected to marry a certain type of person that is going to keep you in that same realm.
Where your relationship is not just a relationship, but it's transactional, kind of.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because that moment that they have the kiss in the Outback, it's interesting because we know that she's kind of in a relationship, right? So when she has that moment, she asks him to come back to New York. He's kind of thinking, he kind of implies, are you asking me to come back to New York because we like each other? And then she's like, oh, because of the story. But then she's like, or maybe also because we do like each other, So it's a combination, and then they kiss, and it's not contrived. I wouldn't say that. It's just that you're kind of like, but what about that other guy? And then as soon as they get back, she's just like falls in line kind of thing.
Yeah, because she's back in her, I guess, natural habitat. She's
Mhm.
back at work. She's back kind of being the person that she's established for herself. When she's in Australia, all of that stuff is taken away from her. So it gives her a kind of freedom to be herself without, having to live up to whatever her father may or may not want from her. It gets her away from her boyfriend, who was not yet her fiance at that point. And I think they said they had been separated for 6 weeks when they go out to dinner. And Mick is like, hey, you haven't seen each other in a while. Let me just step out of the way. And she's very insistent that, like, I'm not leaving you alone on your first night in New York. So she's already setting some interesting boundaries with her relationship with him, and then still almost trying to force her boyfriend at the time to just accept that that's going to be part of the situation while he's in town. And it's, it's meant to be coarse. And then, of course, Richard, the boyfriend, the more we see of him, the worse he gets. And he's a schmuck.
He's smarmy. He's elitist. He's cruel.
He is.
And he does fit like a character that was popular in the 80s and into the 90s. If you're like familiar with, Billy Zane in Titanic, for instance, he's basically that kind of character.
Great villain, though. Great villain archetype, though.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's just, I'm a snob and this person's lower than me and I'm going to let them know it, and I'm going to do it in the most cruel and embarrassing way to put them down. And somehow still I want to try and hold on to the girl.
Yeah.
At the same time.
She did get a big ring. And as I watched that scene and thought about it all playing out, I don't remember her actually saying yes in that moment. They're in public. He puts the ring on her finger, but I don't remember there actually being any, hey, will you marry me? Her saying yes. But it's all implied, and sort of like the wheels of that machine that she's in just sort of move. And
it's all expected of her, and she just kind of rolls with it. Because I do think she's we get the idea that she's a responsible person. And we can see that her and her father have a closeness. And I think that, it's kind of implied that she doesn't want to embarrass him or let him down, so she just kind of goes forward. And it's basically through looks and glances that we see that she knows that Mick's going to be uncomfortable with the situation. And it's not really said. She just looks at him and it's implied, okay, that I'm obviously now engaged to this guy, even though we shared a kiss and we have an intimacy. Because even there is some intimacy even established beyond the kiss in Australia, when he's basically with family, when she's sleeping, I think, and he goes to spend time with the indigenous people that brought him up. She sneaks in and sees like it's a tribal meeting, kind of I don't know what to call it, but it's an intimate thing between these people, and he's part of that. And she sees him in that element, which he didn't invite her to, but she's like glimpsed that, and it's a really intimate thing for him. But there's like been lines that have been crossed, already.
Yeah, that's a good point. And by the time that we're back in New York, it's almost as if that intimacy was expected to dissolve, or maybe her character's in the position of, oh, well, once I get back into my routine and my job and the story's over, all that stuff's just going to go away. But then she's just spending a lot of time with him while they're together in New York. And we have talked about her in New York, but I want to know, what's your favorite part about him being in New York? So I know you mentioned like he just sticks the knife right in the hotel room wall and creates a clothesline out of it. But do you have a particular moment from him being in New York that's like the most fish out of water that you really love?
Okay, so my family would die laughing at this part every time it happened, and it's not a big part at all. It's when they go to the hotel in the first time, and she's about to leave him, and he sees a bidet in the bathroom, and he doesn't know what it is. And I remember thinking, I don't know what it is. What is that? Because I never grew up with that. So she says it's a bidet, but she doesn't tell him what it is. She says he'll figure it out. And when she's down getting in her car, and he yells out the hotel window, "It's for washing your backside, right?" And he whistles at her and then screams that. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, like when I was a kid, thinking, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense, even though I've never used one. And and then also the way that he says the phrase backside, because growing up, people always use like butt, or wipe your butt or whatever. But my family, being Caribbean, everybody says backside. So it was like a thing that we could actually relate to Mick as a family. We're like, yeah, he would say that he sounds Caribbean, like he sounds like us. And it also connected to we had a family member come up from St. Vincent, where my parents are from, and my siblings, and they didn't know how to use the escalator, like Mick. So he was like very and really tentative and really scared about getting on the escalator, which happens to Mick, where he can't. So those two things like really connected. We connected to him as a family. We're like, oh, like we get it. You know what I mean? As I'm first generation Canadian. My parents, are immigrants. Like there was something there where it's like, oh, they understood that. My family understood those things about him. And then he was saying something that sounded like us, as opposed to other people that I grew up with.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the script in general, is that part of it is he plays the character so well, but I think it all comes from a really like authentic place. So it allows him to play the character in a way that works. And so even some of the moments that didn't age well are, like you said, they're not coming from this place of punching down. They're coming from a much different place of discovery and, being a fish out of water and seeing an escalator for the first time, or seeing a man in drag for the first time.
Yeah, or figuring out a bidet. He also kind of measures it with his boot. He puts his foot in it and kind of like,
he's like,
I don't know what
is it for washing your shoes?
yeah. So it's an innocence, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so I feel like that's why I as a kid, I definitely resonated with it. Oh, okay. Like he doesn't know stuff, I don't know stuff. Like that makes sense to me. I can connect to him.
Yeah. And I think that one of the important distinctions is that it's giving us a character who doesn't know things, but isn't stupid. They've established by the time that he gets to New York that he's an intelligent person, and he is very much aware of his surroundings when he's in the outback, and like he knows the indigenous people, he knows how to track, he knows, how to sneak around without his shoes on in the trees and make no sound. So he's got a lot of just like sort of innate intelligence, and he's not a dumb person. And I like that they're framing this as like, oh, this isn't a stupid person just doing stupid things. This is a smart person being exposed to something they've never been exposed to before and just having genuine reactions.
Yeah, and then he really wants to like understand things and learn them, and he's open to that. He's open to having people tell him, not tell him what to do, but just to explain things to him. And then he will try and like, not that he wants to assimilate, but he definitely wants to bond with people, and he's looking for connection, which I think is, and it's not sarcastic, like no, it's not really, there's nothing really sarcastic. He's looking for genuine connections with people,
Yeah, and you see
which,
it in like the hotel workers or the bellhop or the driver, basically
mhm.
all the other characters that the sort of New York elitists don't even recognize. He stops
Yes.
to talk to all of them, to get to know them. He even there's a scene towards the end where he's speaking to the guy that works the door, and they
Hmm.
sort of exchange different styles of saying hello and goodbye. And
Yeah.
it's such a sweet moment that you get this guy who is in a place where it's so jam-packed full of people, yet the vast majority of people don't want to take the time to talk to the person next to them. Everybody's in a rush. Everybody is not rude necessarily, but nobody really wants to get to know this other person. And that's really
Right.
what he's about. And it's what makes his story and being in New York work so well.
Hmm.
Um, and before we get to the next thing, there's a couple of jokes that are more time specific than they are New York specific.
Hmm.
Excuse me, but one of them is him smoking in the elevator. Like he rolls his own cigarette and then just gets on the elevator smoking. And I'm like, oh man, like I can't, just to think that like this was common, that you could just be in an elevator smoking a cigarette, and
Right.
it's like, oh wow, the 80s, like still like you would think that smoking like indoors is okay, but like to be like, yeah, you just smoke in a 5x5 box with
People would smoke in movie theaters and planes.
hmm
And I remember seeing here, going to like an office building and seeing ashtrays in the like between the elevators, like that were built in ashtrays, built
wow.
into the wall. It's kind of, yeah, everyone was smoking. It was so accepted.
And he
So
rolls his own cigarettes, and there's even a lady that comes up to him at the party, and she thinks it's a joint because he rolled it himself. And it's like that's a very subtle but smart piece of writing to
yeah.
to get this character that we've never met. She's just some like throwaway background character, to walk up to him and grab it and smoke it, and like, oh, that's good shit. Like she thinks it's a joint because it's rolled that way. So I love
Right.
that like little tiny piece of like smart, subtle writing that's in there. Because you have to, I mean, it could have been all ad lib, but the way that that joke is structured, I appreciate a lot.
Yeah. It is a really funny joke. There's some really great little gags that are not like, they're not plot driven, like forward driving moments, but they're just nice little touches that, I mean, let you just experience New York with him. And one of my favorite gags is when he says, "Oh, he sees a TV in the hotel room, and he hasn't seen a TV in a really long time, so he turns it on, and I Love Lucy's on, like the image from the title card from I Love Lucy's on. You hear the music, and he says, "Yep, that's what was on."
Hmm
Like the last time he looked, he's like, "Yeah, that's what I saw." When he
Yeah.
sees it, and he just immediately turns it off because he thinks that's television. Television is just I Love Lucy on it, and that's it.
And I love that joke because growing up, like I Love Lucy is always on. And that's what
Yeah.
makes that joke so funny, because like if you watch this movie now and say you're, in your 20s, right? You're an adult, but streaming has been around for the vast majority of your adulthood and even your like formative younger years.
Hmm.
Netflix, at least as a rental service, has been around for a long time.
Right.
So the idea that somebody significantly younger who doesn't watch like terrestrial TV that way,
Hmm.
you may not even get that joke. But I
Right.
loved it because growing up, like no matter what day it was, I turn on the TV. I Love Lucy is for sure going to be on the TV, and I Love Lucy, so I
Me
watched a
too.
ton of it.
Me too. It's really one of my first television memories where I was like, where I said, I love this show. Where it wasn't a cartoon, it was like, you know, people where live action, where I was like, yeah, this is my show. Where I actually felt like my mom would just leave me watching it, and I thought I understood the jokes. I mean, I understand more of the jokes now, but it was just always funny to me. And so it's the perfect kind of show to use for that gag, because the imagery is very specific, right? And really clear, right? That title card is people use iconic all the time, but I'm going to use it for this because it actually applies.
Yeah.
But it is so iconic, that title card, that I Love Lucy, the heart, so it just comes up and it's just like very quick. Everybody gets it who knows what that is. And then it's done. Right. It's pretty killer gag.
Yeah, and there's a reason that they use the title card and not just the scene from the show, because it gives us and him a way to connect on what it is without having to do like any real thinking about it. And it gets the joke over a lot faster than if he were watching a scene and be like, oh, I know her, and having to explain the joke too much.
And even when you see it, like, even when you're not like fully seeing it, because it's quite quick when you hear the music. Like, I think there's like 2 shots where you hear the music. So even if you missed seeing the title card, if you know the theme to I Love Lucy, you're like, oh, when he said, you can be like, oh yeah, like, it's I Love Lucy. That's funny.
Yeah,
so it works on the sound level and then on a visual level and a nostalgia level. Like, it's really smart.
And like you said, he sees it and just assumes that like that's what's on TV all the time, and is like, yeah, I don't need to see anymore. Yeah, I saw that show. I saw whatever this was last time I turned on the TV, so we're good. So that was awesome. But then later he does have the TV on. There's like a Western on. I don't know what he was
I can't remember what
watching.
Western it is.
It's something. There's like some shooting, and he's in the bathroom and shaving, or he's on the phone or something like that.
Yeah.
But I found it funny that like the TV was in fact on later, and I'm hanging out in the room, I'll turn it on, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite joke, not my favorite joke, but my favorite moment of him being sort of out of place in New York is where the 3 of them go to dinner, and he says something about like Richard's being a dick about the menu and about like, oh, I speak Italian and maybe I should just order for all of us. And then, hey, I know this guy doesn't speak Italian, so let me put the burden on him and embarrass him. And then he's like, hey, whatever she's having over there looks good. And then he reaches over and I was like, did he headbutt him? It happened so fast, I didn't see it. And I can't
don't know
tell
if he punches him or head. I can't remember. It happens really fast.
He
just cold cocks him
at dinner. And then he left him with a really bad concussion because he's wobbly the whole rest of the time, and never does he get angry at Mick after that. Like, he never tries to physically reciprocate. And they're in the cab, and him and Sue are talking about, oh, you didn't have to hit him. He's like, well, he was being a dick. So basically he deserved it, which, he kind of did. But at the same time, you're assaulting a guy in public who is reputable, who has money, and then you gave him brain damage to the point where on the ride home, he's not even really aware of what happened.
It's really the meanest thing that we see him do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That we see Mick do, where it's established. No, well, actually, disrespect in a couple of instances where he's just like, he has fisticuffs at the beginning of the movie, which we're not really clear exactly all of that, but then he doesn't like when the prostitutes are disrespected, and he punches the pimp.
Yeah, it's just it's an interesting time capsule to see that, in the 80s, like being the character that Mick is in every other way, and being like this good stand-up guy in every way, he sort of resorts to physical violence fairly quickly. And that is championed a little bit in this story. And still, even though it like, I think seeing it now makes me think like, oh wow, he's just like, he's throwing the first punch on a lot of people, and that just that wouldn't go down too well right now. Like, he'd have a lot of civil suits after him. But I think like the pimp deserves it.
Sure.
Richard deserves it for sure.
Yeah, she's still upset with him that he punches Richard. And she lies, I think, because she says, Richard is kind and he's like caring or something. And we know he's not kind because we saw his behavior.
That's right.
But the thing is, why Richard behaved that way, we know why. We know he's threatened. because there's a familiarity between them. Yes, I forgot that's established at the dinner. He doesn't just start being mean to Mick. He leads into being mean to Mick almost immediately, but he doesn't really get nasty until they have like a moment where it's like an inside joke.
Yeah,
about the food.
that she says, oh yeah, he can cook like these weird things like in Australia, and he's a great cook, and he's just like, oh yeah, how about them yams, huh?
Yeah, and then they kind of have a giggle because it's like, oh, they remember that moment where they were eating that food, and that was one of their first big laughs in Australia is over the food, where he tricks her into thinking that she's gonna eat all this really like authentic and like not so tasty or tasty looking food, but then he just has a can of beans, and it's like a little gag that he plays on her, and they laugh, and they kind of like as though they're old friends, or have had a long relationship, and then they have an inside joke about it at the restaurant, and Richard could see like through their laughter and their giggle, it's like he becomes insecure, and then he really leans into him and is cruel.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I said, I feel like he deserves to be punched in the face, but I mean, it's like, I would want to punch him too, but I probably wouldn't punch him in that situation, but I would definitely want to.
Yes, for sure. And then we're just kind of living through that. It's not something we would do, but we're living through Mick in that way, getting to do the punching and get away with it.
Yeah, not only get away with it, but like share a taxi home with the guy that you just punched in the face.
And then he blames it. He says that he can't handle his liquor.
Yes. Because there was a little hint when they show up, and he says like, oh, I got here early because I was waiting to see you. And then he stands up and like buttons his jacket and leans into her, and she kind of backs up like she can smell the alcohol on him. She's like, oh, you really have been here a while.
Right.
And so like there's that little seed that's planted, but it's like he's not sloppy drunk at the point where he's being a dick about the dinner menu.
Right, yeah. It's true. But it is a good detail though, like that they put that in, because they're establish the writing is good, because it's like, oh yeah, maybe he's like 3 sheets to the wind a bit, and like then he's like threatened, and then it's like it escalates. It doesn't just he's not just terrible the entire time, and it just builds, which is good writing.
You're right. He starts with kind of like smaller, like passive aggressive jokes about like, oh, maybe you didn't see like a snake or something, like, simple, easy, low hanging fruit type of you're from Australia jokes, just to kind of be like, I'm a schmuck, but like I'm mostly harmless right now. And then, like you said, when he feels that moment of insecurity as he sees like intimacy between the two of them, then he's like, okay, well, now I have to play some offense here and like be mean about it to establish myself, like mark my territory by ordering dinner for the 3 of us in Italian. That'll really show him I'm a man.
And it's, like we've seen scenes like that before, but I mean, it's its own thing, like for sure. It's not original, but it's done well.
Yeah. And I can't move past like the New York phase without talking about Mick wasting this guy's cocaine. And it's one of the things that I always remembered about this movie, where he just grabs the dude's coke, puts it in a bowl, and like throws some boiling water over it, and he puts the guy's head down in the bowl, just like, yeah, breathe that in, that'll clear you up real good.
Because he doesn't know.
He doesn't. And I love that the other guy doesn't know either. He is just like, well, Mick, like this guy clearly does a lot of cocaine. If he's giving me some new technique to do coke that I've never heard of, he must be really cool. And okay, I'll sit right here and breathe it in while you go off to the rest of your party.
And I like when she tells him things after the fact, like, okay, that was probably about $100 or $200 worth of coke or something like that. I can't remember. And he's like, he doesn't even know what she's talking about.
He's like, what's that? He's like, oh, it's a drug. You sniff it. He's like, oh, Okay.
You know, the way she says it, I always think, like, since I've watched it as an adult, um, obviously I didn't really get it when I was a kid. I knew that he had done something wrong, that it wasn't quite right, but I couldn't like line it up why. And I knew that it was silly and that he made him put he put his face in a bowl. And I recognized that's something that my mom had maybe, made me do when I had a cold. So I could recognize that, but I didn't, and I knew that the guy wouldn't want to be treated like a kid at a grown-up party. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could see that, oh, that's like he has a little cold and, but he doesn't have a cold, and Mick's making him think that he has a cold. He's doing something else, but I didn't know. But I recognized being in that position and knowing that it's not the right spot, like for it to happen. And Mick's not understanding that that's not something, you do at a party. So now when I watch it, I'm like, oh, does she do coke? I also like, I think that she totally does coke, right? Because she says, to get a little buzz. She doesn't say people do it to get a buzz. She says to get a buzz. And she's actually very sexy in that moment. She's just like, yeah, she's in her party mode. She's wearing a very sexy dress. She's done some dancing. We saw her do some dancing.
She was doing coke with that guy in the kitchen at some point in that party off screen.
She did some lines in there. Actually, the reason why she found him in the kitchen is probably because she went in there to do some lines.
That's a good point. But yeah, it was like the way she described it to him and the fact that she was able to eyeball the value of the cocaine so quickly. She's like, yeah, that was probably a couple $100 worth. Like, how do you know that?
yeah, right. She also like identifies the little, because he dumps the violin, not just the stuff on the mirror. He dumps the violin. I was like, but I don't know why. I always think that she's like really sexy in that moment when she's explaining it to him. Maybe it's her posture. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just the way like they're sitting together. He puts his arm around her. I always used to think, like, watching that, everybody looked kind of cool. They're all wearing like crazy clothes, and I just like, oh, that looks like a fun party.
Yeah, and it's like they're sharing like martinis in that moment.
Yeah.
And like he embraces her physically, and they're at a party together.
Yeah.
And so it's like there is this definite level of intimacy, although they're not like being romantically intimate in that moment per se. They're not kissing.
Right.
He's not like got his hand like on her thigh or anything. It's just like this quiet confidence between the two of them that I think it easily translates through the screen. Like as the viewer, we watch it and we know that they're together. They're supposed to be together. Like we're cheering for them, even passively in that moment. Like we know kind of where it's going because a lot of those subtle cues are already in place, regardless of whether or not Richard's there. Like he doesn't even necessarily have to show up and be a bastard in order for us to be cheering for them to stay together. You could remove Richard from it altogether, and it's just her career and being in New York is this thing that's standing in the way of them being together. Maybe it's her father that doesn't want her to marry a guy like Mick. There's a lot of different things that could be that sort of crutch that Richard is for that part of the storytelling.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about that party, because even though it's not like this super, super seemingly important part, that relaxed feeling, that grown up kind of situation is like kind of cool to the movie, and a cultural like thing about New York that makes you feel like, yeah, maybe I want to hang out here, maybe I want to be with them, in this space.
Yeah, definitely. And it's weird, like growing up in California as a young Californian too, there was always sort of like a East versus West mentality. But then like when I go to New York, I'm like, I love New York. New York's awesome. Like it's expensive. I don't know if I could live there full time, like with the winters and stuff. But when the time of the year that I go to New York, I always have fun.
Right.
And it's such like a unique energy there. And I love that it was set there first. Like, this is going to be the place in America we go, and this is going to be like what we see in Australia, and those two things are going to have to find a way to coexist, because I don't know that if you do it with any other city, it has like the same kind of impact, either visually or from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, it almost has to be New York. It's interesting. It's what's sad about it is like the first thing you really see in New York is the Twin Towers. Yeah. It's just like, boom, you're here, right? Which is sad, but it's also like, looking back at it is sad, but it's also like such a defining thing. Like this skyline is very specific. You know what I mean? The energy, the way that people walk on sidewalks, like, because it's very much like the sprawlingness of all these people like packed in together. I always remember before, I'd go to New York, but I have family that lived in Brooklyn. It was very different. But you go to Manhattan, so there's certain movies you look at from the 70s or 80s, and just the way everybody looks walking down like a sidewalk that's in New York that's really wide, and it's rush hour. You're looking at like Tootsie or Midnight Cowboy or like Baby Boom or something like that, and you're seeing like how like everybody going to work. And it's exciting, right? So it is kind of the perfect place to start for real. I agree.
I'm going to ask you a question that you may not have the answer to, but while we're talking about the New York stuff, the scene with the purse snatcher, they're on a crowded sidewalk. Mick has like super accurate Australian throwing arm and clocks this guy in the head with like a soup can or something. But before he snatches the purse, there's a crowd gathering outside just a barbershop, and they're just watching somebody get their hair cut, and it's like a big deal. And it draws a crowd to this window, which is how the person has their back turned in the first place, where the purse snatcher comes. So I'm like, was that like a thing where like cutting someone's hair was such a sight to behold? I mean, yeah, the side of the head was shaved and it was kind of like a mohawk, but it wasn't like performative in that way. And so maybe it was just something that there needed to be something on the sidewalk to distract everybody so that the purse snatcher could come.
Sure.
Okay, well, maybe there's someone getting their head shaved in there, and that's crazy in the 80s. So yeah.
You know what? I didn't clock that like in the same way, I don't know what is distracting. I don't know what's happening there. I can't even really like think about why that would be the case. I need to really go back and watch that part.
Yeah, because like the way I'm looking at it is, if it's just the two of them, and Mick is like, say it's like a black barbershop, and like he's not exposed to a lot of American black people up until he comes to this city. So if it's like, oh, they're doing like different hairstyles that he's never seen, and he looks in the window and he's like, oh, this is all interesting, like it makes sense for maybe him to stop and look in the window. But there's a crowd of people, including the lady who got her purse taken, that are also like, oh my god, what's happening in here, and they're all just looking in the window. So that's why I was a little confused as to why that particular thing.
Oh, I wish I like paid attention to that part more and didn't get so distracted. I'm like the lady in getting her purse stolen, but in a different direction. Like I'm like not paying attention and like.
Well, if Mick's around, you don't have to worry. This guy's not going to get very far.
Oh, another thing that's like, it's so interesting that we were talking about I Love Lucy too, because that's also set in New York. So it's like, they have it like it's like on top of it, it's like in that universe, but then again, the same place. That's it. Kind of perfect.
Yeah, New York has a lot of cinematic history. I mean,
sure,
obviously, as does Los Angeles. So there's kind of that rivalry as well, where it's like these two big media markets. But like I said, I love New York.
It makes sense
it's so fun to be there.
But it makes sense that he would see something like that even in Australia. Like they would get I Love Lucy in Australia,
Exactly.
So and then if anything he knows about I Love Lucy does not give you a good perspective of New York.
No.
We just know it's there. But there's not really anything on the street. It's a set-based show, so they're almost always in their apartment in the
It's either in
Ricardo's
the
room.
apartment or it's on like Ricky's soundstage or
Yeah,
every now
Ricky's
and
club.
then.
Once in a while, they're like, not really on the street.
Yeah,
They'll
even when
be
she
like in a
has
shop.
even when she has little Ricky, they're very rarely like out in public anywhere.
No, and then I think they move anyway. So not an I Love Lucy podcast. No, but I'm starting
But I mean, I have the DVD of some of
Me
that
too,
series. I don't know how
too.
many seasons it is, but I have
can't
that.
remember.
I
I
mean,
don't know
maybe
why I
I'll
don't
start an I Love Lucy podcast. There's probably
I would do that with you.
There's probably a market for it. That's all I'm gonna say. We'll circle back to that another time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about doing a little trivia?
Oh,
It's only
I would
3
love that.
questions, but
Okay, I'll see.
yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna do, but
I've only done it a couple times on this show, but
Okay.
I started to incorporate it just to bring in some things that I found or maybe like interesting that I'm not going to talk about otherwise. So
sure.
no pressure, but let's go for it. Time for trivia.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. In total, how many films are in the Crocodile Dundee franchise?
3?
Correct.
Yes.
There is
I don't know what the lot.
Well, there's a short with Danny McBride that is like Paul Hogan's his dad, and he's going to find him, but it's not a full-length movie. It's just a short. And then there is a movie called The Fantastic Mr. Dundee or something like that.
Oh.
And it is Paul Hogan as Paul Hogan, and he is he's about to get knighted. And so it's a Crocodile Dundee story, but with Paul Hogan rather than him playing that character. So it's not officially in the franchise. It's the very excellent Mr. Dundee, which was from 2020.
Okay.
So unofficial, I would say, like 4th one in the film. And the first one is Crocodile Dundee. Second one is Crocodile Dundee 2.
2. Okay.
Third one, Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Because they couldn't leave it alone. They had to come to LA. So I feel like I need to watch that one just to make it full circle.
Well, as a Californian.
Yeah, I think they're all on HBO Max as well. Well, just Max now, but I think they're all there.
I haven't seen the second one. I feel like I've only seen it once, and when it came out, probably.
That sounds about right to me as well, because that was 1988.
Oh,
yeah,
that close? Well,
yeah,
maybe I didn't even see it in the cinema. Maybe I saw it on VHS. I can't remember.
Well, question number 2 is sort of about why there was a sequel 2 years later, but Crocodile Dundee was the second highest grossing box office film in 1986. What was number 1?
I know this. I think Top Gun.
Top Gun. There you go. 2 for 2. You're doing well. So
all
yes,
right.
So Top Gun was number 1. And when I did this show talking about Running Man with my friend David from Real Talks, we kind of just looked at the box office because he had brought something up, and then I was like, you know what, let me pull it up. And so we looked, and I think similarly, the top 10 here is such an eclectic mix in comparison to what we're going to get now. Like you could look on January 1st at the whole release calendar and be like, I could probably get 9 out of 10 of the top highest grossing films. But in 1986, like number 1's Top Gun, 2's Crocodile Dundee.
Wait, don't tell me the third one. Can you give me a hint?
It's a sequel to another famous 80s movie. It's number 2.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't got it.
Number 3, Karate Kid Part 2.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Number 4, Back to School. Grossed more than number 5, which is Aliens.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Aliens
number 5?
It grossed $100 million less than Top Gun and got outgrossed by Crocodile Dundee by $30 million. So crazy to think that Aliens is number 5. Looking back at it, Color Purple, number 6, did really well.
That is so different. Like the spectrum.
Yeah. And this is what we were talking about with the 1987 year as well, is that like you said, the variety that we get in the top 10 is so much different because sort of like the mid-budget adult movie just kind of left, right?
Yeah,
Like that movie
exactly.
doesn't really make money anymore. And so
Mm-hmm.
you look at number 7, like that's Star Trek 4. That's a franchise film. So it's already
Mm-hmm.
got built-in audience. That's perfectly fine. But number 8, Ruthless People. Number 9, Out of Africa. And number 10, Ferris Bueller.
That is I love that though. I love how people are freaking out right now about Barbie and Oppenheimer, but that would be like a regular thing back then.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Barbie and Oppenheimer are
Me
both
too.
coming out and can both be successful. Those are
I
good things.
I think that it's a good thing for cinema for both of them to be coming out. I like the idea of that trend, going back to that trend, and maybe then we'll see other, not as big budget films like mix in there with the other ones and still get that notoriety. It's just crazy how much people expect for. It's weird how people revere films that make like billions of dollars now. Like, what is with that revering like films because they make a
I
billion
think that
dollars?
$1 billion is a huge amount of money. So it's like it's just such a staggering number that like you
Yeah,
can't help but be like, oh my God, that's so much money. I mean, yeah, the movie costs $300 million. So if you don't make 600 million, like you didn't even get 2-to-1 back on your return.
right.
Where looking at the budgets for some of this stuff in the 80s, like you could spend 30, 40 million, get 60 back, and that's a win. And
Yeah,
like the studios aren't complaining that, oh, we didn't make enough on this. So like the whole
right.
studio model is different where you're more inclined to invest 100, 150, 200 million when you know that, the top end is potentially $1 billion. That'll sustain your studio for a lot longer than,
Wow,
kind of like A24's model. But A24 is doing perfectly fine.
they're
They're
killing it.
exactly. So more stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're moving to third and final question.
Okay. I'm
Out
nervous. And
you're 2 for 2 so far. This is a lot. You get a good amount of chances on this one, but
okay.
outside of the Crocodile Dundee movies, can you
Mm.
name one other Paul Hogan film?
Oh no, I don't think I can do it. I don't actually think I can do it. Oh, there is something, but I can't. I can't.
Well, I just told you one of them that I have to scratch off this list when we were talking about just a minute ago.
I don't know. Okay. Why do I keep mixing it up with another movie title? I know this is not. I'm gonna say the movie title that I think I'm mixing up with because maybe it's the name isn't part of it. I know. Don't at me, people who listen to this. Like I know that it's not Jumping Jack Flash, but I feel like there's a Jack in something.
You're surprisingly close, I will say.
Like Flash. Like I feel like it sounds like that. Jack and Flash or something like that. Something like that.
Okay, I'm gonna say
Okay, wait.
I'll give you half credit. You want the answer?
Yeah, I know it's not Jumping. Obviously, I know it's not Jumping Jack Flash. That's Whoopi Goldberg. Nancy Myers wrote that movie. Anyway, so just bear with me, people. Anyway. I want to know. Yeah.
The name of the movie that you're thinking of is Lightning Jack. Like I said, pretty damn close. You get half credit on that.
Lightning Flash.
That's what I'm saying. I was like surprisingly close for not knowing the name of it, right? But you did really well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so glad. I like the trivia because it lets me put in some other stuff. So the other films that would fall under his library, very excellent Mr. Dundee, which we talked about.
Sure.
Lightning Jack, one that we may or may not have seen, the Flipper movie.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Almost an Angel, Strange Bedfellows, Charlie and Boots, and That's Not My Dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't register. Yeah.
Tough sledding for Paul after the Dundee dried up.
Oof. Jumping Jack Flash. That's pretty. You know what? Even though I didn't get it right, like I feel good about that answer.
Yeah. No, that's what I said. I was like, oh wow. I was like, for the wrong answer, that's like as close as you could possibly get. Well done. Well
thank
played.
you. You know what we didn't talk about? like about talking about his life, how it's changed, but like that their chemistry and then how they were married for like a long time, like over 20 years, I think.
Linda Kozlowski and Paul Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah.
20 years is a long time, especially for like a Hollywood marriage as
Yeah.
well.
Over 20 years.
Yeah, that's
3
a good
films.
point. I know. Were they married through all 3 of them? The third one
I think so.
The third one was 2001.
Yeah. Then they were
So-
married for that. Then they were married for that amount, that time too. So the entire time they made those movies. I mean, maybe those last ones could kill a marriage. I could see how you might be riding high at the beginning and
Yeah.
not so much in the later years.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to know that their chemistry that we saw on screen was real, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't just something that was contrived. And it's funny, like, I mean, I've been in my relationship. We're about to celebrate our 6-year anniversary next month. And
Lovely.
so when we watch films, it's very obvious to us, the people that
Mhm.
don't have chemistry. And so then I see people talk about like how Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard in Jurassic World have such great chemistry. I was like, they have no chemistry. I was like, they're like brother and
People say
sister
that.
out there. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, so if people think that's like really good chemistry, I don't, no offense to the 2 of them, but for whatever reason, like there's a scene in like, I think the third one too, where it's like they're embracing and she just kind of hugs him like that's her cousin or something. And I'm like, like, I don't believe it.
Rough.
So it's just very interesting to see something like with the 2 of them, like the quiet
Mm.
confidence in their
Mhm.
relationship, like you said, of him just putting his arm around her. And you can
Mhm.
tell that they enjoy interacting with each other on camera
Sure, yeah.
in a way that
Yeah.
a lot of people don't when you're forced to be romantic leads with someone that maybe like you have to work hard in order to get that chemistry with.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, like, sure, they're not together anymore, but over 20 years, that's not a failure. That's like, over 20 years, if you went your separate ways for whatever reason, who knows? But that's a long haul for sure.
I would say even for a relationship outside of Hollywood, 20 years is
That's
that's a long
that's
time.
it's unheard of, like for a lot of people.
Yeah. And
I've never done it.
it turns out that they were married from May 5th of 1990. So after the second film. So they were working their way up to getting married. And then they stayed
Oh.
married through July of 2014. So 24 years after, the success of those first 2 films had dried up a little bit too. But
Yeah.
clearly what they had established working together worked
Yeah.
for them as partners. And,
Hmm.
it's sad to think that they ended up getting divorced like that, but
Yeah.
sorry.
But it happens.
But he didn't get remarried. That was his 3rd and final marriage. So
Hmm.
good for him. Good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
And
for
I
sure.
do need to see Excellent Mr. Dundee and see like how much of his real life is in this movie, because he's definitely old, and it's like we're asking you to come back and reluctantly dive into this character again that you've kind of like spaced yourself from at this point.
Yeah. Oh, it's what we ask of people.
Yeah, it might be a disaster, but it might also be good if his charm and the stuff that we like about him in this series actually carries over. But I feel like watching all 3 of them back to back right now and then jumping into this movie. So Croc Dundee in Los Angeles. Let's do it.
Right? I mean, I do. Oh, well, yeah. Where are we now in the movie? Because, my favorite part of the movie is really.
Let's get to it.
The end is my favorite part.
The crowded subway platform.
Okay. So there's a couple things leading up to There's a couple of things leading up to it. It's the score. Can we talk about the music in this movie? Because there are 2 separate scores, really, to the movie. There's the Australian music. They don't use any of the music that they use when they get to New York when they're in Australia. That music is reserved for New York, which I think is very cool.
Smart.
And yeah, because it just changes, and it has that 80. If you've watched a lot of 80s movies, it has that feel, it has that energy. And the music that's in Australia sounds like Australia, even though I've never been there, but it makes me think that it sounds like Australia,
And
and
that's what it's supposed to do.
exactly. And then when it has this I don't even know how to explain how the music sounds when you get to New York. How do you even explain that? Anyway,
That's a good question. It's vibey.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's vibey. Yeah. Yeah, it has that it has a bit of a Beverly Hills Cop energy, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so when they get there, you have that. So, but on her way, when she realizes Mick's gone walkabout the United States.
Where was that movie? We got number 2 where somebody gets kidnapped, but I feel like the first movie should have ended with him going walkabout, and then the second movie is her trying to find him across the U.S.
Ooh, look at you! If it's rebooted, maybe you're the guy to do it.
Right.
And yeah. So, but when she realizes that, and she's running after him because the doorman at the hotel has said that he's headed to the subway. And she's running, and she kicks off her heels which I'm thinking, whoa, those heels are expensive. Somebody's about to get really lucky. She slaps that on, like somebody with her shoe size is like, what, designer high heels? This is awesome.
That's how rich she is. She don't care.
Exactly. But the music from Australia kicks in when she's running to find him. And I think that's so smart and so beautiful. Like, it just, all of a sudden you're back. She's kind of back there, she wants to be with him, and to bring that music back in, super. It's so clever.
It's the moment where she realizes that she loves him, and so it's putting her back into the place where she fell in love with him.
Yeah, I think they might not do it, I don't know, in their second kiss in New York after he saves her life. Again, they're both their lives when he pulls out the knife. When they get held up in New York, and she says that cheesy line, which she knows is cheesy. Like, she says it's cheesy, and she says, he asks if she's all right, and she says, I'm always all right with you, Dundee. And she's like, oh, I can't believe I said that. Yeah. Which it's kind of good because it is cheesy. The line is cheesy, but she recognizes it, which is also good. I mean, I'm starting to realize why this movie was nominated for best screenplay. I mean, it's tight. And she says that, and then they share a kiss. Can I say something about this kiss though, too? It looks like a good kiss because it's close up at first, and then it's a wide shot, so we see their bodies. And when we see their bodies, first of all, she's in an awesome outfit again, but like an oversized sweater and pencil skirt, just for people who want to know. Anyway, he grabs her butt. He like takes a full handful, cheekful, which we know what those cheeks look like.
He had been waiting on that cheekful for a while.
We know what those cheeks are like under there, but he takes like a full handful, and it looks but it doesn't look cheap. It looks sexy. It looks, you're like, yeah, it looks really hot, and yeah, grown up. And so there is they've already established they've had their second kiss, and then when so they might hint at the music there. I'm not sure, but anyway, when she's running to the subway to meet him, the Australian music kicks it back in, and that's awesome. And then my favorite moment in the whole movie happens, and I always want to applaud. A smile comes to my face. I get choked up, but should we talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very sweet, although, excuse me, it's set up in a way that, it's very contrived to a degree that it's like the platform is so packed, and like you have to rely on these specific like New Yorkers to translate the message in the game of telephone. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's it's very unrealistic that they'd be so tightly packed that he can't just like be excuse me, and walk down there. But
I mean,
I do like what I do like that if I think of it a different way though, if I look at it like he is trying to get away from her because of like the things that have happened, he doesn't necessarily want to fight to get to her in that moment until he does. Because when he does, then he's like, nothing's standing in my way.
I think that it could be that tightly packed in New York City. Like,
It depends on what station they're at and what time of day.
And it's rush hour because we know because these are working men. These are like one looks like a construction worker. They look like blue collar,
And
guys.
I think the doorman actually like tells her to, you got to hurry because it's rush hour or something.
Yeah,
she's going to chase him. Okay, so that makes more sense.
And it shows her like we also established that moment on her running that she's like a New Yorker. She's like a tough New Yorker. Like she's a real because a guy tries to hold her up and she just like knees this guy in the crotch and keeps on running. Like she's just like determined. But she also this is her city. We're on her turf, but she's also mentally kind of back in Australia because she's it's clever. And so then she sees him on the platform and she wants to communicate with him, but he's too far away to hear. And she does the sound that Walter does to draw Mick to him in Australia when he's lost. She knows that he might recognize that sound. It's like, oh, or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm not going to want to hear that back.
I'll probably be able to find the sound effect somewhere. I'll put it in there.
Okay, as opposed to me. If you find that it's actually pretty good, then
I'm going to cut it from this interview and put it at the very end. So when the episode ends, we hear you go, ooh.
And then and so she has to communicate with this man. Actually, I've seen this man back in the day on the Cosby Show. He's quite a good actor. Actually, the two actors are character actors that are really good. I think they're both like really New York character actors. Not to say that they're necessarily from there. I mean, I feel like they work there a lot. She has to communicate through these two blue collar men, declare her love basically, and let Mick know that she's there because he doesn't know that she's found him. And it's really funny because she says something to them and then it has to go through that first guy and then the second guy. And they use their language, their way of speaking to communicate to Mick, and vice versa when the message comes back to her.
Yeah, he's like, what does she want?
Yeah.
And they got to pass the message back.
What do you want? And then, it passes them and it's just like, the way they say it is in their own vernacular.
And he's like, she's not marrying Richard.
Yeah.
And Mick is like, why not?
Yeah.
And so he needs an answer for
He's
that.
like, I know. The guy says, when he says, why not? The guy says, I don't know. To Mick. Remember that? Yeah. Which is really funny because he's like, I don't know. But he does translate to the next guy and it comes back to her. And then she says, because I love you, because I love him. I love him. She says it twice. And so the guy that says it, after she says it twice, he says it twice. And I really love that moment because he's just like, he doesn't say she loves him. He says, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you. And I love you. And the next guy who has like a very like, probably like has like a very Italian American kind of vibe. Says, I love you. I love you. Kind of like that. I can't believe this. Those impressions are
no, they're good.
Out of control. And then Mick is like excited and he says, tell her I'm coming through. And then it goes back. It's really fun.
Yeah, I think ultimately what I love about that scene in particular is when she gets the ring put on her finger, that kind of like sends Mick spiraling towards like, all right, well, she's gonna be with Richard, and he checks out of the hotel, grabs his bag. I mean, he spends that night, walking around with a bottle of booze and drinking and just kind of processing
Yeah.
things. But in that scene where she comes down to the subway, like she can't physically reach him. And so it limits the intimacy that they have physically, which we've seen works really well for the two of them when they're together.
Mhm.
And not only that, she kind of embarrassed him in public by bringing him to this dinner and then having Richard propose to her there and putting the ring on her finger. And in that scene, he's like talking to the woman sitting next to him, but he's looking at her.
Mhm.
And so like you can tell that he's hurt. You can tell that, something's gonna happen. And
You
like
can
it's
also
not
see that she's uncomfortable.
yeah. And
Mm.
it's nothing bad that happens to him. But then when we get to the point where they're now both in the train station, she doesn't have the convenience of being close to him to express her intimacy. So
Mhm.
she has to tell everybody there that like you can't leave because I love you and I'm not going to marry Richard. And so like the whole crowd gets into it. And so that's a very sweet moment in that like everybody's cheering for them.
Yeah, and I feel like that can't happen anywhere but in New York. I feel like that is like I've seen crazy things happen in New York. And I've seen videos of crazy things happen in New York. I've been there when things happen where it's like people think New Yorkers are so mean or rude. But I've had really great experiences with New Yorkers where they're so kind and warm um and I think that is the kind of thing that could happen in Manhattan where people would cheer people on that declare their love out loud. I feel like that could happen, on a subway platform in Manhattan. I really do. Like I actually believe that, which I think is part of the magic of the movie too. It's like, could this, even if you've never been there or never experienced it, you're like, could this happen in New York? Could this happen there?
The magic of
And
the Big Apple.
yeah, exactly. And uh it's just, and so it's a really magical moment. And then the way everybody helps him it is kind of, then that's outrageous now.
Yeah, this guy's looking up like he's stepping on my head. This is awesome.
He can't get through because they're packed like sheep in there, the one guy says. And then he's like up, and so they all just help him and he walks on their heads to her.
He does. You could just
And
crowd surf him over there. You don't need to let him
he
step on
doesn't
your
need
head.
to step on their heads. But questionable. But he, when he gets to her, they hug. They don't kiss, right? They just hug. And we've already seen them kiss. And so it's just about their embrace. But that's not the only thing that happens. And one of my favorite things that happens in movies and is kind of a lost art, in my opinion, is the freeze frame.
The freeze frame ending.
I love I want a freeze frame. I want freeze frames in the beginning. I want them in the middle. I want them in the end. Like you can put freeze frames throughout a film, and I am a very happy person.
Yeah, this isn't a slow pan. This isn't fade to black. This is freeze frame. We're done.
Exactly. No, it's not. Yeah, and it's basically her avatar base, her guy who's communicating to his guy, is puts out his hand to shake Mick's hand.
Yeah, that's right.
And to meet him, because I guess he feels like he knows her. Right? So he puts out his hand and you just see Mick embrace that man's hand, shake hands, while he's still in one side of him embracing her. And he has a big smile on his face. And then freeze frame. And I'm so happy. Like, I just want to burst into tears. It's so beautiful.
It is very sweet. I know.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned something too about like this sort of misconception that like New Yorkers are like mean-spirited people, but oddly enough, I've been having this conversation with my girlfriend and my sisters recently that sort of being nice is overrated, but in a weird way, that the difference between being nice and being kind. And
Yes.
somebody had put it like I think it was in New York and LA kind of a joke in the way that I saw it too. And someone was like, well, yeah, in LA, if you get a flat tire, like your friend will be like, oh man, I'm sorry, it sucks that happened to you, being nice. In New York, this person will help you change your tire while being like, why don't you have a spare? Why don't you know how to change your own tire? So I love that you brought that up. And I really do think there is something to like the kindness, because Mick isn't necessarily like just super nice, but he's kind to everybody, right?
Yes.
And I
So
think that works really well in terms of like how he connects to like kind of the salt of the earth New Yorker.
yeah. It's like these hardworking people, and like we with the cab driver, he says
Yeah.
he gets it. He doesn't get in the back of the cab. He gets
Right.
into the front.
Let's go get a
and
drink.
he's just like, I'm gonna go drink. Where's a bar? And he's just like, and the guy's like, I'm actually off right now, and goes with him. And I feel like that could happen in New York, where you feel like that connection to people, where you could just do something like that, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. And there's so many people coming in from so many different places. I mean, I live in Toronto. It's like the most multicultural city on the planet. But there is something about an honesty with New Yorkers, right? Like what you said, like they'll like help you change your tire, but be pissed off, like that they have to help you, but they're going to do it. They're going to get your back, which is so even these guys that are on the platform, they're kind of annoyed, but they understand the importance. They understand the stakes.
Yeah. It's
So
like
they're like gonna do it.
they're a little bit annoyed until they find out that, oh, this is for love. And then they're like, no, this is something that's worth our time then.
Yeah,
And
you can see it in the acting is really good. You can see it in their faces when she says, I love him. It's like, oh man, like we get it. Like
we
we're
gotta
on
get
board.
the message down there.
Yeah, exactly. We're on board, and then everybody applauds. And you can say that it's silly, or you might, if you're I feel like, you could be cynical about it for sure. But why?
Yeah,
Good point. But why when it's awesome and fun and like beautiful? Get on board.
Yeah.
And I like that you brought up kindness and nice, because it doesn't have to, like, people feign nice kindness all the time, but by just being nice. I'm doing air quotes. You can't see me, and I've been trying to learn how to do podcasts like this entire time, where I'm like, stop nodding and make sounds. You'll notice when you go to listen to this, Nick, you'll hear silence at some points, like dead silence, and then all of a sudden, that's me trying to tell the audience that I am actually Nick, listening to Nick.
That's what post-production's for. It'll be seamless by the time it comes out.
Excellent.
But yeah, there is, I think, a difference between being nice and being kind. And it's important that the character that we have here is kind to everybody. And it's what makes the movie work, I think, like as a whole. If he's inauthentic for a minute, then the whole thing kind of falls apart. So him being kind to her, to what's the guy's name, Wally, or whoever his Walter. Neville, like going to their ceremony, the limo driver, the cab driver, like all these people that he spends time like really investing in, that basically every other New Yorker doesn't, is sort of like the defining characteristic of the film. And I think by the time we get to the end and they're on the platform, like, you're not cheering for him if it feels inauthentic. You're not cheering for them to be together if it doesn't feel like it's worth it. And so not just for the people on the platform and the characters in the story, like, it has to be worth it for the audience that's watching it. And that's really kind of what it comes down to, is how good he is in that. And because even me, I'm like, okay, like, some of this is, because I'm trying to understand, like, why would someone say it's a bad movie, right? And so I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a little like corny, or some of the stuff is dated, and maybe you don't believe in like this kind of romance and whatever. But I still, like, even for me, who isn't big into romantic comedies, like, I really liked how this worked a lot. And I was happy for them in the end. And it's kind of like this moment where being embraced by the people of this city, like physically engulfed by these people on the platform is really like his effect on everybody in the story. That like he's got this magnetism, and that like everybody has worked together because of who he is to bring them together. And I really found that drove this film, and I was like, his charisma is so strong that it really elevates this film like beyond it being kind of this, you know, just this passing movie of the time that cashed in on, oh, he's from Australia and the novelty of it. It's like it certainly does that, but I don't find that to be its defining characteristics.
It is kind of like, you know, the movie in real life did the same thing that Mick does to New Yorkers inside the movie. Like Paul Hogan did like to audiences what the movie does. It's kind of meta in that way, right? It kind of like, he's this Australian, he comes in, he charms everybody. Crocodile Dundee was this movie that people didn't know was going to be anything, and it charmed everybody. So it's working on two levels there, where it actually did the thing that he's doing in the film.
Absolutely.
In real life, which I think is cool.
Number 2 box office of 1986. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's like warming the audience in the same way that he's warming to people in the film.
But now we go to Critics Corner.
Okay.
And that's where we hear what the nasty things the critics had to say about this movie. And for the most part, there's a lot of good ones because the Metascore is solid. So we start at the bottom, as we always do. And this is The Guardian. So this is a British, or it's a UK news source. And it gave it a 40 out of 100. It says, for a long time, Crocodile Dundee isn't so much a collection of jokes as a stiff-jointed opposites attract romantic drama goofed up with stereotypes. So here you see that someone is looking at it like it's not more than the sum of its parts. It's just like a cheap novelty gag, and the romance doesn't work, and the drama doesn't work, and they were someone whose cold heart was immune to the charms of Paul Hogan in this role. So it doesn't have a writer attributed, but that's the bottom rung of the ladder of reviews from The Guardian.
Okay.
And then we get, well, like I said, every time on this show that Roger Ebert's review is on here, I always read it. So we get Chicago Sun-Times. He gave it a 50 out of 100. So that's what, 2 out of 4 stars on his scale. And it says, all of the cliches are in the right places. Most of the gags pay off, and there are moments of real amusement as the Australian cowboy wanders around Manhattan as a naive sightseer. The problem is there's not one moment of chemistry between the 2 stars, which is ridiculous. Like I said, some people just don't recognize it. And it's like, they got married and stayed together for 20 years. So to think that there's no chemistry between the 2 of them, I think is just a gross oversight. And if there were, I feel like what he says about the rest of it would have upped his score significantly.
Sure. Like, I feel like he doesn't really give it that bad of a review, which is interesting, but he also gives it a bad review, like in the ranking.
Yes.
In his words, if you were to take out his star rating, then you wouldn't really think it's a bad movie. You might if somebody said, guess how many stars he gave this, you probably give it more than 2 stars.
Yeah.
Based on the words that he actually says about it.
Yeah, and that's why I actually like reading Ebert's reviews when they're available, because his pull quote always points to the positive, even when he's being critical, he's always pointing to something positive about it. I really have yet to see him say something terrible, except for he did hate Freddy Got Fingered when we did that episode. And
like, what is it? North? I think he really, really, really hated that movie.
Well, we haven't done that one on this show yet. And then we got 2 scores of 60. One of them is Empire and one is TV Guide magazine. So I'm going to let you choose between the 2 of those.
So which film? Which magazines?
TV Guide magazine or Empire?
TV Guide.
TV Guide gave it a
classic
60 out of 100. It says the film's fish out of water storyline is a film comedy standard. What makes the picture work so well is Hogan's cheerful, weather-beaten appeal. So, hey, it works really well. He's appealing. I'm still going to give it a 6 out of 10. That's so weird. It's like, it works well. It's funny. He's appealing, but meh.
Do you know what I think this is? It's that it still happens now, and obviously things haven't changed. Where people don't want to be happy in a way.
Yeah.
People are afraid to be openly like in love with something sometimes. And we all have to like I always say to people when they're ranking things and people are really tight with their rankings, especially like things that where you're not like, you know, where you don't have a responsibility to a public or like an editor or whatever, and it's just yourself, just as a
Mm-hmm.
person, and then you're like tight with ranking something
Mm-hmm.
like it's like, well, why didn't you give this 5 stars? Well, because it's like, what are you waiting for? They're waiting for that perfect movie, but for who? You know
That,
what I mean?
I
Like,
know.
who, but who is it? It's just you, it's just you and your personal ranking. Like, you don't really have to be that withholding. Yeah.
I think the last movie that I actually reviewed on Letterboxd was Drop Dead Fred, and I gave it 5 stars because of a conversation that I had within the film club.
Yeah.
And I know Seth and Michelle for Movie Friends, they had done one of their like bonus Patreon episodes on Drop Dead Fred. And so he asked me like for a soundbite. So I wrote something for him. And you know what? I can score this whatever I want. And I was like,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna take the time to write things on Letterboxd, I might as well just give everything 5 stars at this point and really piss some people off.
Well, I feel like it's just your thing, right? I mean, I guess when if I write a review and I have to answer to an editor, which I have, I feel a certain responsibility not to be hyperbolic in any direction,
Mm-hmm.
but to be as measured as possible to give people an insight where I'm just like freaking out because I just want to give Stoker, I've said this a million times, want to give Stoker 5 stars. No, no notes, right? Where, I see, I really, really dislike something so much. And I use hyperbole to explain exactly why I hate this thing so much. I really can't do that when I'm answering to somebody else that has to read it and check it, and then they're like, "You've gone, you know, you're too personal. You're too close to
Yeah.
this." You know what I mean? Then I feel like I'm trying to be more measured, trying to blow it out of proportion and either bad or good. Not to say that everything has to be down the middle. Like, I can sway it, but I feel like I can't use certain language or just be giving out 5 stars willy-nilly. I can't really do that. I have to be a little bit more responsible. I can't be frivolous about it.
Yeah.
And in a harsh way either, right? It doesn't have to be right down the middle. It can be negative or positive for sure, but I have to sit back and think about it more. And I can't. But if it's my own letterbox, it's the Wild West. Do what you
Yeah.
want.
I
Why are you
know.
being so withholding? Slap those 5 stars on all sorts of things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like when I write film reviews, I used to try to do it in a way where it's like I want to pull myself back from it as much as possible and
Mm,
be as objective as I can. And then I started to realize, like, look, I'm doing this because I love writing about movies. And if I remove myself from it,
mhm,
then it takes out the things about the movie that like I see that I actually love. And it's like, look, I have my own website, so I don't answer to any editor other than myself. And I feel like
mhm,
the stuff where I'm able to talk about something personal and why this particular thing in this film resonates with me in a way that it may not resonate with other people gives it context that, the current kind of model for movie reviews is either it's spoiler free, where you really don't get to say anything about the movie, like, oh, the acting was good, the costumes are great.
mhm.
Like, it's kind of like a weird hollow way to talk about
Sure,
films.
sure.
And so I kind of fell into that trap too, of where it's like, oh, I don't want to spoil this for somebody, but I also don't want to write about it without being able to talk about the things that I feel have value. So it put me in a position where I've written a significantly fewer amount of reviews like this year. And it's like I'm more pressed for time, but also like if I can't talk about the things that actually matter to me,
Mhm,
then you can literally see a million other people that are like, hey, John Wick 4, like the cinematography is good and the action's good and this scene is great with the guns and the costuming's great and the performances are good. Like, you can literally, everybody's just saying the same thing. So at the end of the day, like, what's the point in me even talking about it if I'm not going to bring anything new to the table?
I think it's important to like, that's why I think Roger was really successful, because it's really important to like get to the nuggets of what the person, what the art is, what the thing that the person that made the thing was trying to say with it. You know what I mean? I'm not talking like, it doesn't have to be this deep thing, but really just what they wanted to convey, you know what I mean? And then say, was that done well? Did they convey the thing? Was that done well? And not to say that I don't bring any emotion to things when I answer to like an editor. Of course I do. I bring everything that I'm trying to feel about it, in addition to were they successful? So that I don't completely, I hate using this term, but I'm going to use it, yuck somebody else's yum. So if someone has I hate using it, but I'm just quickly, but if someone has like a great emotion about it, I don't want to take that away from them, right? By using like hyperbolic language, right? But I still will be, you could still get a negative review out of me, or you can still get a really really like I'm in love with this thing kind of review. But it like, there is like a different kind of responsibility than when I'm on Letterboxd and I can say something like, I love this movie because I think I have one that's like, I love this movie because I realize I still want to fuck Christian Slater. That's like up to me.
That's, yeah. Or it's like, hey, we all need a man who smells his socks in the bathtub, like Paul Hogan.
Right, yeah.
You know, Letterboxd is a great place for stuff like that. I will admit.
Like, you can have this like freedom there, and I'm always wondering why people like hold back so much when you can have those big opinions. And yeah, I still want to have a big opinions, but I want to find this like the art form of reviewing something, you know what I mean, that can give that person permission to love it as much as they want, you know what I mean, without me totally destroying you know, what they love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or giving somebody that permission to be really excited about something, you know what I mean, because they like my writing and they think they like my taste also. So it's like a balancing act, but I feel like it's something I'm constantly like trying to hone, where I'm like, I want to bring emotion to things, I want to bring feeling to things, because that's important. That's why it's my voice, right? That's why I'm asked to do it. But at the same time, not destroying the people that made the thing, and not destroying like people's choice to make their choice on their own too.
Yeah, and typically, like, at least when engaging with other people about films, I typically don't assert myself when I see somebody saying that they like something that I really don't like. I'm just like, okay, you like that. I don't need to come in here and tell you that I think it's crap or whatever, or that I just didn't even like it in general. Like, I don't need to tear that down.
Yeah, because like, I feel like I'm expelling energy in the worst possible way. Like, why? Like, they don't need to hear it. They love it so much. They don't really need to hear from me. If they ask me point blank, like, really tell me honestly, deeply, what do you think of this? Then I'm going to tell the truth. But if they didn't ask me for that and they're having a good time saying how much they love something, I can just like not say anything. That's a choice you can make too. Just kind of be like, sure, great. I'm glad you like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. There's in talking to other people, like the Letterboxd thing was going around, like top 4 films of the year so far, and I was like, I don't know if this is my 4 favorite, but these are the 4 that I knew I immediately wanted to see again. And Seth had commented on that and said, oh, Sanctuary's on your list. Like, now I really want to see it. I'm excited. And I was like, you weren't excited before? Because I was. And so he just, joking aside, but he was more interested to see it because of my endorsement. But I also was like, me, I'm not going to tell you to see it or not to see it. I was like, you make your own decision. I was like, that I liked it a lot in terms of movies I want to see again. And that's all I'm telling you. And like, I was the first person to see like Beau is Afraid among like my circle of movie friends. And even then they were like, how was it? I'm just like, nope, my lips are sealed. Like, you have to experience it on your own, and then we'll talk afterwards. But I don't want to say anything that's going to color you one way or the other. So just It is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I since we've started talking, I love talking to you about movies because it's like, we're just really, really, we're really relaxed about it, and we don't put a lot of pressure on, putting things above each other. It's not
Yeah.
like we can't compare things. I think we compare things, and comparing things is very different to like ranking things. You know, um, you can stack things up against each other, and for sure, but they don't have to be ranked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why we talk about movies.
And a friend of mine today had tagged me randomly in some conversation saying, like, what's your favorite comedy? Go. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, don't make me think about that. I was like, I don't dedicate brain space to like what that is. So now I can either give just like the first answer that comes to mind.
Right.
It may or may not
Which
be
could
the
change.
Truth. Yeah,
or
exactly.
change.
It may just be like, this is the only thing I can think of right now. So this is the answer you're getting. Or let me think about it forever and never get back to you because it's too much pressure. So those are the two options that I have really when dealing with that. But like anytime someone tags me in one of those where it's like, oh, give me like 4 movies that are this, I'm just like, I'll bookmark this and probably never come back to it. But I appreciate you thinking of me in this conversation.
Yeah, I love a question where it's just like name something that you love, like, and like it's like name a crime movie that you love, but it doesn't have to. It's not favorite. It's not number one. It's not best. It's just like I love this movie, and then I can talk about it, and I'll put a GIF for days. Like I'm like, yeah, tell me to put 4 GIFs of like 4 different crime movies from 1994, and I'll be like, excellent. This is up my alley. You know what I mean? Just
absolutely. That's
random. Like give me that, and then I'll be like, here's some things that I like, and then we share those things.
Yeah, GIFs are my love language too. So
oh,
that's how
I love
communicate.
GIFs.
I know. I was like, I didn't think I liked it until I had access to them on a regular basis, and I'm like, this is better than talking.
And yeah, when people like do those pictures, you can only do 4 photos. I'm always surprised. I'm like, why isn't more people using GIFs? I'm always like stacking with like 4 GIFs,
And as we head back to Critics Corner, we've got the New York Times. I'm going to choose New York Times. Gave it a 70. It says Paul Hogan is a delightful Crocodile Dundee. He has an easy, extremely likable screen personality, a mixture of warmth, sex appeal, disarming innocence, and dry humor. And so I don't know who wrote that, but they got it. That's a great pull quote that really nails it, and still only gives it like a 7 out of 10. So it's still.
But I feel like that's a reasonable review of that film. A fair review of that film.
And I think it really focuses on the thing that is the strongest about the film, which is him.
Yes.
And there's a reason that, 3 of them got made, and it's because he's that good at it. And then we finish off with the LA Times, which gave it a 90 out of 100. So my hometown paper, Michael Wilmington from the LA Times says, certainly Crocodile Dundee is nothing you can examine deeply or mull over afterward. Well, Michael Wilmington, you are incorrect because it's exactly what we're doing tonight. He says it's simply an expert crowd pleaser, which it is. It has a sure, easy, confident touch that's almost failure proof. Like a tip of the hat, a sip of beer, a quick golden good day.
Oh,
very sweet.
That's really sweet. See, I like that kind of review. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying every review has to be sweet, but I like that. I like the little nods to other things that make you feel good.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Michael Wilmington, I appreciate you, not being afraid to speak your mind and give a movie like Crocodile Dundee a 9 out of 10.
Well, I don't think we have to agree, but I like the thoughtfulness of the review, right? I think it's about being thoughtful. That's the word I've been trying to think talking about reviews. And I like the idea that it's like he's connected to these things that speaks to people, that is like not about the movie, but that he knows other people might appreciate, and then they can kind of apply that to, I'm going to steal that, and then they can apply that to they can, what paper was that? Your hometown?
LA Times.
Yeah. I'm gonna be stealing that Michael Williams that style. But like applying it to something that they can relate to, where they'll remember that, oh yeah, I love that first sip of beer when you get, when it's cold and you've been wanting it for a while and you have it, and then yeah, I could see how that would be, I mean, I'm gonna have a Foster's, not gonna.
I know. I was like, oh, I didn't buy Foster's for this. Damn it, I failed.
But yeah, I feel like I love that. I love that style of writing. It's pretty warm. Yeah.
It is. And as we close out Critics Corner, one thing I always do with my guests is for people who have seen Crocodile Dundee and are looking for something similar, or for someone who hasn't seen Crocodile Dundee and you want to give them a recommendation or some connective film that will help them make the jump to Crocodile Dundee, what would that film be? You mentioned one earlier that I think is a good fit, but I don't know if you're going to go back to it.
Yeah, it's Romancing the Stone. But I can do another one.
No,
Romancing the
that's fine.
Stone because is like I mean, it's has a lot of similarities. The female protagonist is a writer. It starts off it is in those two pieces too. It's New York, a place that she's familiar with. It's Manhattan, where she's familiar with, and then it's like the reverse. It's like flipped, and then Columbia. So yeah, and it's kind of like a fish out of water. I mean, it's only actually one way. Well, only she's the fish out of water, but it does kind of start one place and then end up another place. And it's an adventure.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've seen that, but it's like a little Indiana Jones like too. They're looking for a treasure or something.
Yeah, they're looking for a stone, if you will.
You don't say.
A very valuable stone. Yeah. Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
It's
Robert
stellar
Zemeckis.
cast. Yeah, Robert Zemeckis. It's a dream, and I love the way it starts. It's clever, I think. It is romantic, a little sexy at times. And yeah, grown up, but not like excessive in any way as far as violence or sex or vulgar language or anything like that. Pretty lighthearted, but an adventure. Great. Like it's, you know what it is? So I always joke about the Sunday afternoon movie. Like I remember when I was a kid, it'd be like, and now we've returned to the Sunday afternoon movie, Romancing the Stone, starring Michael Douglas, right? Like it, and while other children were outside playing, like children are supposed to, I was inside watching the Sunday afternoon movie. You come back from commercial break. I love that feeling. And that Romancing the Stone is that kind of movie. Crocodile Dundee is the same. So if you want that vibe, that's the one.
Yeah, oddly enough, Romancing the Stone is PG, but I always thought it was the more mature movie of the two. And Crocodile Dundee's PG-13.
You know why? Because I feel like Crocodile Dundee has more things that are adult.
Yeah, drugs,
in it.
Prostitutes.
Yeah, drugs, prostitutes, her butt cheeks. But like Romancing Stone has some violence, a little nod to sex, and basically that's it. But when you look at Crocodile Dundee, there's drug use, alcohol, heavy use of alcohol, and like driving while under the influence, stuff like that, like violence, and
Yeah. True.
Yeah, so it's just like
Clobber's a guy with a soup can. The limo driver boomerangs a guy in the back of the head. There's a lot of
and prostitution,
initiating violence, prostitution. Yeah, when you say it out loud, it makes sense.
Talk of cocaine, drug use. Like there's not really. They talk about drugs. Actually, there is drug use in Romancing the Stone. They smoke weed, or they light weed on fire. They make their fire with weed.
Ah.
And when I was younger, I did not know what he was talking about. He said, "Oh, let's throw another key on the fire," and it's like a big block, and he throws it because they found, like, it's there in Colombia, and they found like a drug like plane, and I had no clue. I was like, they're just putting like these little bricks. What's that about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at that little brick you just threw on there. Why are they acting a little strange? Okay. Why do their eyes look all sleepy, and why do they all of a sudden have the munchies?
Sounds like a good time.
I mean, Nick, if you haven't watched Romancing Stone in a while, and you're
Yeah,
in
it's been
you're
a
in this
while.
vibe right now, I'm saying you should watch it. It's on Disney Plus, or at least in Canada.
Ooh, okay, well, I'll
At
check
least
it
in
out.
Canada it is,
All
but
right.
let me know if you watch it.
I will. I want to give you the opportunity. I know we've talked about it outside of the show, of you coming on to my other show, talking about your film program at your theater. But I want to give you the chance to at least give us an overview of like what it is you're working on and where people can find you if they'd like to.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a film programmer, a film curator at Revue Cinema in Toronto. It's a independent cinema here. And I'm the programmer of a program called Paid and Sweat, which is sports adjacent celebration in sweat in cinema. And yeah, we're having a good year. It's starting its second year. Next film up is Blue Crush, July 6th, 7 p.m. And then in August, a classic, and don't read Ebert's review, but maybe watch the Ebert and Siskel review it, because it's one of the best reviews they give, and they seem like so friendly. They're such friends in this moment reviewing this film. It's called Breaking Away from 1979. It's a cycling movie. It has a young Dennis Quaid that gives, probably, in my opinion, his best performance, even though he's quite young. And it's a kind of a coming of age underdog story. And yeah, so I'm doing those two. I don't know what my September title is yet. Yeah, but Breaking Away in August 10th. And then the review itself, the program director has a program called Heatwave. And it's a collection of programmers that have all each picked a film, and I'm programming Body Heat, August 21st.
Good one.
And it's gonna be great. It's gonna be sexy, and obviously, and yeah. So that's what I'm up to right now. And yeah, there's some other stuff coming down the pipe that I can't, not quite tightly booked enough for me to say. But yeah, Blue Crush next month.
And if people want to find you on Twitter, you want to give out your
Nostalgia File on Twitter and on Instagram.
It's spelled like it sounds.
Yeah, HILE,
like
nostalgia.
Cinephile, but nostalgia file.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put that in the show notes, so no one's gonna get confused.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's just me talking about stuff.
Talking
about myself.
Thrillers and
sometimes erotic thrillers, sometimes erotic thrillers, sometimes I Love Lucy, for real.
There you go.
It's wide. Yeah, I also write for a publication called That Shelf, which is like a pop culture publication. Its home is in Toronto, but we have writers globally, and I'm one of the contributors, particularly in television, but I'll do some film stuff too. I have, if you like Ms. Maisel, I've recently done a review of Ms. Maisel, Poker Face, I did a feature for the new Fatal Attraction show, and I have a review of Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, coming out shortly, because I'm also a Trekkie.
Oh,
so that's coming down the pipe. It's the first time I've got to write about Star Trek. That's going to be in a publication. I've never done that before. It feels a little close to home, so be gentle with me. But if you're a Trekkie, you might want to check that out.
That's awesome. Got a lot going on.
Yeah, I do.
busy, but that's good.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
I want to thank you for taking the time to do this
Oh.
and to help elevate my day and elevate my mood. It was so much
I
fun
hope I
talking
helped.
to you, and it was so much fun not just getting to go back and watch this movie, but get to talk about it with someone who loves it so much and to
Oh.
share in that joy. It was really, really a wonderful experience.
Oh, thank you so much, Nick. Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me do this with you. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. I love talking to you about movies. Any old time.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Go.
Thanks again to Vanya for hanging out. And we got way into the weeds, but it was a lot of fun. Make sure to check out Revue Cinema in Toronto, and you can find her at Nostalgiaphile on Twitter. I'm going to put both of those in the show notes. And, of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you've got a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and telling a friend about it. I'd also love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love and or would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me on Twitter or Instagram at Bad Movies We Love, LUV. This show is an extension of theshice.com, and it is recorded, edited, and produced right here in the home studio by yours truly, and now it's fully integrated in the website too. So until next time, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies.